I've been in the landscaping business for 11 years. I have worked in rain, in mud, in the kind of cold where the ground doesn't want to be touched. I have worked with crews who showed up every day at 6 a.m. without complaint. I have dealt with difficult clients, demanding clients, clients who change their minds 4 times mid-project. I have never, not once in 11 years, done what I did to this guy. And I have zero regrets. He hired us to lay premium sod across his entire front lawn. A full install, soil prep, grade correction, high-end zoysia sod, the works. Quoted at $8,400. Signed contract. Deposit paid. We showed up on a Monday in the middle of a heat advisory. 97 degrees. My crew worked 3 straight days without a real break. He berated us the whole time. Sent back the water we brought. Complained about the equipment noise. Complained about the pace. Called my lead guy by the wrong name every single time, even after being corrected. When we finished, when the job was done, clean, professional, and genuinely beautiful, he looked at the lawn, looked at us, and told us he wasn't paying. Said it wasn't what he ordered. $8,400. I stood there for a second. My lead guy, Marco, looked at me. I looked at our trucks. I looked at the sod cutter we still had loaded in the back. And I said, Marco, fire it up. I'm Rico. And in about 4 hours, his lawn ceased to exist. I run a landscaping and lawn installation company in the Southeast. Been doing it for 11 years. Started solo with a truck and a trailer. Now, I've got a crew of 8, and we do everything from basic maintenance to full landscape redesigns. Good reputation. Word-of-mouth business. We don't lowball and we don't cut corners, and our clients mostly respect that. The client in this story, I'll call him Mr. Decker, is not one of those clients. Mr. Decker found us through a neighbor referral, which I want to note because that neighbor relationship becomes relevant. He had a large front lawn that had been struggling, patchy, compacted soil, a drainage issue we identified on the initial consult. He wanted a full overhaul, soil remediation, grade correction to address the drainage, and a complete sod install using zoysia, which is a premium warm-season grass that holds up well in our climate and looks exceptional when installed right. We quoted the job at $8,400. Materials heavy. The zoysia alone ran about $3,200 for the square footage, but fair for the scope of work. He reviewed the contract, asked a few questions, signed it, and paid the 30% deposit same day. First sign of trouble. He called me the Friday before we were scheduled to start and asked if we could push the job up a week. I told him we were booked and couldn't accommodate. He was annoyed. I was professional. We confirmed Monday. Monday morning at 97 degrees. Heat advisory in effect. I made sure my crew had extra water. We had a shade tent for breaks, and I'd adjusted the schedule to start early and take a longer midday break to avoid peak heat. We showed up at 6:30 a.m. Mr. Decker was on his porch when we arrived. He watched us unload and then, before we'd done a single thing, told me the equipment looked old and asked if we were actually professionals. I smiled, told him the equipment was well-maintained and the work would speak for itself, and went back to staging the job. He hovered. This is a thing some clients do, and I've learned to manage it. But Mr. Decker's hovering was active rather than passive. He made comments about the pace, about how my crew was positioned, about whether Marco was doing it right on the grade correction, which, and I want to be clear, Marco has been doing for 7 years and does better than anyone I've ever worked with. Day 2, around noon, one of my guys set a water cooler in a shaded corner of the driveway. Standard practice, we keep hydrated, especially in a heat advisory. Mr. Decker came out and told us we needed to move it because it was an eyesore in his driveway. It was an igloo cooler in a corner. During a heat advisory, I moved it to the truck bed without comment because I needed this job to stay functional. He called my lead guy the wrong name, kept calling him Mario, despite Marco correcting him twice. After the 3rd time, Marco just stopped responding to Mario entirely, which is the kind of quiet resistance that keeps a crew sane. Day 3, final day. Sod install. We've got the soil prepped, the grade corrected, and we start laying the zoysia rolls from the street inward. This is my favorite part of the job. Watching a bare dirt yard transform in real time into something that looks like it's always been there. There is genuine craft in laying sod right. The seams, the roll direction, the watering schedule we leave the client. We do it right. By 4 p.m. on day 3, the job was done. I'm not going to lie to you, it looked incredible. The kind of install that you drive past slowly because you want to look at it. Even Mr. Decker, standing on his porch watching us finish, had gone quiet in a way that I initially read as satisfaction. I walked up to him with the completion invoice. $5,880. the remaining 70% after his deposit. He looked at the invoice. He looked at the lawn. He looked back at me. He said, "This isn't what I ordered." I said, "Can you be specific? What's different from the contract?" He said, "It's just not what I had in mind." I said, "The contract specifies zoysia sod, full installation, soil prep, and grade correction. All of that is complete and documented with before and after photos." He said, "I'm not paying." I said, "I'm sorry." He said, "You heard me. It's not what I ordered. I'm not paying. You can talk to my attorney if you want." And then he went inside. Let me be straight with you about the legal reality here, because I've told this story and people always ask. Under our state's law, and I had looked this up once before in a previous non-payment situation, a landscaping contractor retains ownership of installed materials until full payment is received, provided the contract includes a materials retention clause. My contract includes one. My attorney helped me draft it 2 years ago, specifically because non-payment situations exist. In plain English, that sod was still legally mine until he paid for it. I called my attorney from the truck while my crew waited. I explained the situation. She confirmed, under the retention clause, we had the right to recover the materials. She advised documenting everything before and after. I went back to my truck. I looked at Marco. I said, "Fire up the cutter." Marco looked at me for about 2 seconds to make sure I was serious. Then he smiled and got off the tailgate. A sod cutter is a machine that slices under installed sod and allows you to roll it back up cleanly. We use them for renovation jobs when you need to remove existing turf before a new install. Ours is commercial grade and is very, very good at its job. We started at the street edge and worked methodically inward. My crew has done this kind of removal before, and they were efficient and professional about it. We documented every step on video, the condition of the yard, the intact sod rolls, everything. It took us 4 hours. By 8:30 p.m., Mr. Decker's front yard was bare dirt from the sidewalk to the foundation. Every single roll of zoysia was loaded back into our trucks, clean and intact. Mr. Decker came out somewhere around the halfway point. He stood on his porch and yelled at us. I told him, calmly, that we had retained ownership of the materials under the contract he had signed, that we were recovering our property, and that if he had concerns about the legality of the removal, he was welcome to call his attorney. He said things that I won't repeat here. My crew kept working. Now here's the part that, I'll be honest, I hadn't planned, but that the universe apparently had strong opinions about. Mr. Decker's neighbor. The same neighbor who had referred him to us in the first place, a man named Gary who had done 2 previous jobs for and who is genuinely one of my favorite clients, had watched the whole situation unfold from across the street with what I can only describe as escalating amusement. When we were loading the last of the sod rolls, Gary walked over. He said, "Is that zoysia?" I said, "It is." He said, "How much to lay it at my place?" I looked at Gary. I looked at the sod. I thought for approximately half a second. I said, "Half price. Tonight." Gary said, "Let's go." We drove the sod 50 yards down the street. We laid Gary's front yard in about 2 hours. Smaller lot, simpler install. It looked, if anything, even better than it had at Mr. Decker's because Gary's soil was in better shape to begin with. Gary paid us in full, cash, with a tip. We pulled out of his driveway at 11 p.m. It started raining at 11:30. It rained for 12 hours. I drove past Mr. Decker's house the following afternoon. The dirt that had been his front yard, the bare, unprotected, freshly graded soil for which we had removed every blade of grass, had been partially washed toward the street. A silt trail ran from his driveway to the storm drain at the corner. His yard was not just dirt. His yard was eroding dirt. I took a photo. I'm not proud of the photo. I sent it to Marco. Marco sent back a single emoji that I will leave to your imagination. Mr. Decker's attorney contacted mine the following week. The letter raised the question of whether the removal had been destructive and caused property damage. My attorney's response cited the materials retention clause, the documented video evidence showing the condition of the underlying soil before and after removal, and the fact that the subsequent erosion was the result of an unprotected soil surface during a weather event, a risk that is documented in the contract as the homeowner's responsibility once materials are removed. We did not hear from his attorney again. Mr. Decker has since had another landscaping company come out and install new sod. I know this because Gary told me. Gary also told me the new company charged him $11,200, which is about $2,800 more than our original quote. He paid it. Someone asked if I felt bad about Gary getting the sod at half price. Was that underselling? Gary has referred us 6 new clients over the past 3 years. He has been a loyal and respectful customer every single time. Half price for Gary that night wasn't charity. It was a thank you and a business decision wrapped in the most satisfying delivery in company history. Someone asked if we'd take Mr. Decker as a client again. We have a do not service list. It's a short list. It has exactly one new name on it. Someone asked what I'd say to Mr. Decker if I saw him. I'd probably ask him how the new lawn is holding up. Then I'd drive away. 3 days. 97 degrees. $8,400 of premium zoysia sod laid with skill, care, and professionalism by people who showed up before sunrise and worked until the job was done right. He said, "It's not what I ordered." He went inside. Enrico looked at a sod cutter in the back of his truck and decided that not what you ordered means still mine. For hours. Every roll. Clean. Loaded. 50 yards down the street to a man who paid in cash and left a tip. The yard became dirt. The rain did the rest. He eventually got a new lawn installed. He paid $2,800 more than Rico had quoted. And Rico has a do not service list. It has one new name on it. So, jury, was taking the sod back the right call? Or should Rico have taken Mr. Decker to small claims court instead and kept the lawn in place? And a question I want every person watching to answer. If you had worked 3 days in a heat wave and someone refused to pay, what would you have done with that sod cutter? Because Rico knew exactly what he was going to do the moment he saw it in the truck. Drop your verdict in the comments. Every single one. The floor is completely yours.